Okay, so let me show you some of the ways that you can work on this project. All right, so if you go over to the Blackboard site, you'll see here at the bottom e-reserves. Click on e-reserves and then click on the attached file. It may ask you to enter in your username or password. And you'll see all of the ebooks that are in Course Reserve that you can click on, read, and also download chapters as PDFs. Right. So, for example, on some of the titles you'll see obviously have to do with one civilization or another. Some of them are general titles and may have a chapter on your civilization. So you should take a look at some of the general ones too, not just the ones that have your civilization in their name, such as 1177 BC, the year that the world collapsed, because this deals with the late Bronze Age collapse. And the way my computer works, here we go. And so we'll have stuff about the Mycenaean civilization, even though Mycenae is not in the title. Then what you can do is you can read online. I would not download the whole book because I think you have a limit to how much you can use. But you can go through it and then print out certain sections as PDFs. Right. So usually with a lot of these books, I would look at the introduction, look a little bit at the conclusion, go to the index and look up Mycenae, and you'll get some information. Right. So you can just read it online like that. You can do a search. You can then print out a PDF. You got to do the whole chapter, or if you go to print, you then can do the certain pages you want, and it will also give you the citation style, and that's another important thing. Right, so let's go back to the book, for example. So here is the book. You wanted to, let's say, cite it. So you want to make sure you have the correct citation in your paper. Well, here you can choose MLA or you could choose APA. So here's APA. The one thing it's missing, though, actually, it's a little bit incorrect. This part is not even necessary, I believe. But what it's missing is the publisher. Princeton University Press. The MLA has it, the APA doesn't. So be aware of that. I would consider, I don't know why this is obviously an error on the database's part, because it's supposed to have the publisher there, Princeton University Press, which it has in all the other things. So just kind of be aware of that. The stuff that says access through Pro Central is not even really necessary, because it's the same in PDF as it is if you bought it on Amazon. So it doesn't really matter if you're reading in paper or PDF format. But it is important to have the name, title, publisher, etc. Okay. Let's look at a couple other ones. So here's Cahokia and the Archaeology of Power. Right there, you could look up decline, or you could look up collapse. For some of these searches, you'll have to be a little creative with the search characteristics. You might look up Cahokia collapse. You also might look up Cahokia decline, because you might get different results with it. Ecocide, Short History of Mass Extinction, usually has stuff about Rapa Nui or Easter Island. It's 2 pages. There's 41 ebooks. Not all of them have to do with what you're looking at. So here, the Great Maya Droughts in Cultural Context, Origins of Civilization of Angkor, Understanding Collapse, Middleton, right? This is a good one to look at because he goes into the definition of collapse. He also has chapters about different, introducing collapse. He's got Mycenae. He has Maya collapse, Encore, Rapa Nui, right? So he's got quite a few, so you could use the information within Guy Middleton as well for your theories as well as for the definition of collapse. So those are the E reserves. So even before you meet with your group, I would skim through some of these. Make a list, cut and paste the citation into a Word document of the ones that you looked at. Take a couple of notes on them, right? You could say, okay, Middleton has information about the invasion theory that has been proposed. I'm just making that up, but something like that. And then when you talk in your group, then you can make like a Google Doc where you could all contribute to the annotated bibliography and assemble it, etc., etc. And that's something that again will form the basis for everyone's paper, and you can expand on that. Okay, Google is pretty good, but you're going to get more scholarly resources with Google Scholar, right? So I'll just show you an example, right? So let's say we looked at Old Kingdom Egypt collapse, and you're also going to get different things if you do Old Kingdom Egypt decline, or in the case of Egypt, we talked already about the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom. You might also, if you were doing Egypt, no one is, but if you were doing Egypt, you would look at the beginning of the Middle Kingdom, because they would also probably have information about the collapse of the Old Kingdom. So here, if we go to Wikipedia, decline, right? So, it has some information about decline. It has stuff about the drastic drop in precipitation. And you go here and you see, okay, Nile flow failure at the end of the Old Kingdom. You can then cut this, copy it, paste it into the Grand Valley Library search engine over here, right? So you can either copy and paste that into here or into JSTOR, and almost certainly we will have that article and you will be able to download it as a PDF. Right, so this is the way Wikipedia can be useful, because it gives you some of this this information, also the citations to get. Okay, so that's where Wikipedia is useful. Some of these other things that you're going to get are not going to be as useful on a Google search, but they might be a little bit useful, right? So Ancient History Encyclopedia, I would use this maybe just for the background information on the civilization, because again, this is for a general audience. It's not really for a research paper. This is for someone who's interested in learning more about Egypt, but not necessarily someone who wants the latest research about specifically the collapse of Egypt, right? It's written for a general audience, right? He's a freelance writer, the guy who wrote this. So he's not an Egyptologist or an archaeologist by trade. Doesn't mean that's not good. It's just not good enough, really, for a research paper. For example, if you were looking at this BBC, so this is again good. I would put it in the good category, not the great or excellent category in terms of sources, but you can use it to then get other sources. So sometimes it will say something about research that has been done. For example, this is talking about some research and flood failure and lack of precipitation, and you might go down to the bottom and there might be a link, let's say, about it, but in this one there isn't necessarily one, right? Things that you don't want to use are things like these things that look like they're meant for classes or for students, right? So let's look at Google Scott. Well, first let me show you another example. So let's say you looked up Indus civilization on Google. All right. So would you want to use Khan Academy? Again, I don't think so, because it's basically written for a student to get an introduction background on the civilization. It's not for a student to use to write a paper. They've basically written a paper, a summary paper on the Indus. You want to get the actual original research and scholarly sources to write your own research paper. So if you clicked on the BBC here, right, this is why it's important to go through this stuff first to see. As you go through it, you can see this is very brief. Also, with the pictures, you kind of get the idea that it's meant for grade school kids. And that's exactly what it is. So would you want to use this bite size, for kids? Would you want to use this for a university research paper? I'm saying no. But let's say here's a magazine, The Diplomat. So let's say the truth behind the Indus civilization's collapse. This is what you should pay attention to. A new paper published in the journal Nature. Nature is one of the top journals in the world. You click on that, it takes you to the paper, which if you are connected to the library, you will get automatically, right? I think here you can just go download PDF, or if it doesn't give it to you, you cut and paste the title and look it up on the library search engine. But also, again, make sure you click on this, cite the article, and it gives you everything, right, that you need to cut and paste that into your annotated bibliography and also your paper, right? So very, very useful. But you can see that just by clicking on that link, you get the original article. So you could read what they said. Has firmly established that antiquity, blah, 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 goes back 8,000 years, right? So you get a little bit of an understanding of what the research is about, but it's not going to give you enough detail to write your paper necessarily. So you want to get the original research. And what would be better, to cite the summary by a journalist of the research, or to actually cite the original research? Citing the original research is better in general. Also, you want to be careful about putting things into your own words. Use quotations sparingly, right? Unless they said it so well or they said it in such a specific way that you have to use their words with quotation marks. Put it in your own words and have an in-text citation, right? Okay, well, let's compare Google to Google Scholar. You can get to Google Scholar easily. Just search it, or it's scholar.google.com. But let's look up Old Kingdom Egypt collapse and see the differences. Right here, all of these are scholarly articles, not websites, blogs, or Khan Academy or anything like that. Right? They're taking you right to the heavy-duty research, right? Nile flow failure, right? So this is about lack of precipitation that might have caused the collapse of the Old Kingdom. Here you can download the PDF. You can cite it by going to, let's see, usually it's under something like this, export citation, something like that, is one way that you can get it, or it will be on the paper itself. And so you can download this and use this original article. Right, here's another one, climate change at the end of the Old Kingdom. Again, you can download this, and this is again about lack of rainfall, state collapse in the late 3rd millennium BC. This is pretty good, social political discontinuity. So this is about, again, collapse, late 3rd millennium, abrupt climate change, social collapse environment and society. Now, when you turn in your annotated bibliographies, I will let you know if, let's say, there's certain theories that you are missing. Some of these civilizations are very prominent theories that you should be looking at. If you didn't find them, I will clue you in about that. So what I would suggest is look a little bit at the e-reserves, get some information from that. Do a Google Scholar search, get some articles from that. Talk amongst yourself with your group mates, right? Contact them via Blackboard. Send them an email, right? I think you can, again, do that through email on Blackboard. You can select who you're gonna, so you can select your group to email, right? So you know you're in group whatever, you put them over here, you can email them. Maybe you want to send each other your text information, or set up a Zoom meeting or a Blackboard Collaborate meeting. Then, collate, use Google Docs to kind of collate your findings. You'll submit that, and so you'll know, okay, I have almost everything I need. By the end of the week, you should say, I have the sources I need to write the paper. And next week, I'm going to read through this stuff and start entering the information in the outline. The week after that, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write the paper and get it done. So, yeah, obviously there is this, there's a lot of work in this class because everything's condensed into 6 weeks, but students have done it before. You guys will be able to do it too. Let me know if you have any questions. Please email me. We can also set up, virtual office hours and things like that. But I look forward to seeing your guys' progress.